You're listening to Founders on Air with Steve Orenstein and Mike Rosenbaum.
This podcast is sponsored by Zoom to You, Australia's on-demand courier marketplace. Get your parcels delivered within hours rather than days.
Today we have with us Alexis Soulopoulos, co-founder and CEO of Mad Paws. Welcome to the show, Alexis.
Thank you very much. Very happy to be here.
Thanks for joining us on Founders on Air today, and congrats on what you're building with the Mad Paws marketplace. It's one of the great success stories in our sharing economy here in Australia. So on that note, tell us, how did you get started as an entrepreneur, Alexis?
Yeah, well, look, my parents, they built entrepreneurial businesses as well traditionally, but this always gave me the spark or the excitement to look into entrepreneurship. And my dad said, look, Alexis, first get all the good boys and girls consulting jobs, learn, and then I think it would be very good to work for yourself. And it happened a bit differently because I went to university and after my degree in Belgium, I went and studied in Australia. And immediately after finishing my degree here, because it was so much focus on entrepreneurship and also meeting what would become my business partners, we said, should we try something? Should we try this marketplace for pets? It seems like a really good idea. We're all pet lovers. We're all passionate by the problem. Should we try it? And to answer your question directly, how I started was really by just saying, you know what? I just graduated from university. I have nothing to lose. I'm very excited to try it. And indeed, I've got nothing to lose. And this is how we put the first steps into motion, which is validating the idea in the dog park. Hey, what do you do with your pet when going on holidays? And then, commissioning a website build, MVP, very, very MVP. And that's really how we started.
Yeah, great. And so tell us a bit about Mad Paws. What's Mad Paws all about?
Well, Mad Paws is Australia's and New Zealand online pet community. And what we started with is really connecting pet owners with pet sitters and dog walkers to look after their pets when the pet owner can't. And this is great. So, because when you go on holidays, what do you do with your pet, dog, cat, rabbit? You want to ensure that they have a fantastic time with a great pet sitter. Or when you're working late, we find you someone that's going to walk the dog, which for us is really recurring revenue because people need dog walks constantly. But we do a number of other things, such as really building an awesome content platform around it. We've got 500,000 subscribers on our website, users of our platform, and they're also very much there for the community and for the content. And we know there is a whole universe of more needs for or more solutions for pet owners' problems that we're now very seriously working on.
What's the strangest pet that you've been asked to look after or walk, like a stick insect or something like that?
People always ask me this question, and I seriously considered making something up because it's not that strange. But we did have little piglets, which was very cute.
Very cute.
That was the one.
No alligators?
No alligators, no kangaroos, snakes. Yep, we had snakes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good. I've got a friend with a snake, I'll tell him.
Yeah.
Here's to you, Jono. Fantastic. And I mean, the pet sector, it's a huge and growing industry here in Australia. How many pets are there in Australia, and how many would you at Mad Paws have looked after so far? And how many years have you guys been running now?
So look, there are many, many pets in Australia. There are close to 25 million, but the ones that we, of course, majorly focus on are dogs and cats, which is close to 10 million, which is more than there are teenagers in this country. And Mad Paws so far looked after 100,000 customers.
Wow.
So that's a bit more pets because some of them have 2 or 3 pets.
Fantastic.
Awesome. And what was it like sort of early on in the early days of building the business, and how did you get sort of that initial bit of traction and getting going and building the marketplace?
Yeah, look, the early days of the business were very exciting because everything was very new and very tough because nothing was working. A very early traction we got through, I was working in fish burners and we launched the website very, very quickly. And that was awesome. But all the customers on the website were calling me to tell me, there were exactly 5 of them. They're all calling me to tell me the flaws of the system. In fact, they couldn't progress to making a booking. So we definitely launched very, very fast. You could argue too fast, but nonetheless, I'm happy that we launched quickly because 2 months later, there were 50 different competitors. And so I honestly think that if we didn't launch as soon as we did, despite all the flaws, but we're able to help our customers over the phone, we may not have been here today to tell the story. not that story at least. So I think launching quickly was one of the success things which we did, but then being very close to the customer and learning from them, and then learning what they liked, but also learning what they didn't like. And I think that was very, very important. Launch fast, learn from the customers. And another thing that we did, and that I think contributed to our early success, was we didn't have a lot of marketing budget. We didn't have a lot of technology budget, but how could we nonetheless find existing demand? Yeah, Google is demand. People are usually looking for particular services, in our case for pet sitting, but Google is very expensive. So when you're starting out, you can do a little bit of it, but maybe not yet a lot. And also we didn't have a marketing manager. But what we did is we got inspired by the Airbnb story, where they found their very first house listings on Craigslist. Yeah, kind of the Gumtree of United States. And for us, it was very similar. I was solving all the website problems because I'm not technical, but that was my job because it wasn't that great, right, as I told you. And yeah, I had a very young, early employee. And I said, please, can you expand the business all over Australia, because there's 50 pet sitters, 50 other companies are launching as well. And he said, and then he listened to that story about Airbnb that I told him earlier, and he started posting ads on Gumtree and more ads. And we started seeing really awesome traffic from Gumtree. And I think the learning from it is, where on the internet are people already looking for your service or your products? And in our case, it definitely was Gumtree. Can you direct them to a better solution? And this is then the Mad Paws solution. And this is very much how we got our first demand for pet sitters and our first pet owners as well on the platform.
Yeah, awesome. And how did you do that? Was it just by placing an ad on Gumtree with a little blurb about Mad Paws and
exactly,
a link?
Which is free.
Yeah.
And that doesn't scale. Like today, we can't grow the business by posting more ads on Gumtree, but it definitely got us to our first 10 transactions, both for finding pet owners and pet sitters. And then actually, in fact, to our first 20, 30, 50, maybe 70. And that's when you get really into a vibe of, okay, this thing is working. Yeah, we certainly didn't find the scalable acquisition channel yet, but we've proven that there is demand, we've proven that there is supply, and we've proven that we can connect it. Now it is warranted to raise a bit of capital. By the way, investors are seeing some really nice early growth. Now it is warranted to start searching for scalable acquisition channels and have a bit of marketing testing budget.
So that was the point when you sort of realized that you had product market fit, when you started seeing the transactions starting to roll through.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Cool.
And then there was a good story, and that's how we proceeded.
Awesome.
So you've got some big brands on your shareholder register, some great Australian businesses like Qantas. Tell us how that came about, and what do those partnerships look like today, and how they've been for Mad Paws?
Yeah. So when we started the business, around the time that I was talking to all those customers that had many flaws to report, we already were thinking, which would be now the ideal partner in Australia? And we said, look, there is definitely one pet-related ideal partner, but there is also one travel-related ideal partner. And this would be Qantas, because of their very dominant position and their, I believe it's 8 or 10 million frequent flyer members in the database, of which we know 60% of them have pets, just like all Australian households. And so it means that it's a huge number of people that have pets. So how it came about is, one thing I do is I build up, this is a good one as well, whoever interesting I meet that is kind of interested in helping the business or in potentially future investing, I say, no problem. Would you like to be kept informed in the loop on Mad Paws? And I send them quarterly updates, not too dissimilar to the investor updates I send to my investors. And so I do that, and people feel on the journey. And at time that we need an investment, there is a pool of people that is already really interested. So the so far has proven very well. But one of the things we did maybe 3 years ago was, hey, pool of interested people in the Mad Paws journey who see my emails every quarter. Would you know anyone in the Qantas organization? Because this is our ideal partner. And now that we have achieved some scale, we think it's worthwhile for them as well chatting to us. And so one person who's very well connected in Australia, in corporate Australia, from that database or from that list of people that I interact with on a quarterly basis, was able to make an introduction. And what happens then is everyone in Qantas, big organization, is very excited. But as we all know, running businesses, we're very excited, but we've got our normal line of business work to do as well. So things were progressing, very positive interactions, but also very slow interactions. And then got lucky because this is when Qantas launched an accelerator, meaning the board said, we want to engage with startups. It's very important. It's part of your KPIs for the whole of the organization to work on this accelerator. And so this is when our conversations got fast-tracked very, very significantly. And this is how we were able to close the partnership, which was partly an investment and partly a commercial partnership. And now it's quite awesome. When you travel domestic airport, you see 2 huge Mad Paws banners next to the security check-in. So you absolutely can't miss them. And I think that's completely super valuable real estate, as well as whenever you travel and the system knows you have a pet, Mad Paws advertising will be targeting you.
Fantastic. And you can earn Qantas frequent flyer points when you book through Mad Paws, which is another great perk.
Exactly.
And so would you recommend to other startups to consider partnering with corporates? And what advice would you have in that regard from your learnings?
Look, I mean, the answer is yes, but the answer is at what priority does it have, partnering with big corporates, and at what stage? I think for a consumer business, there is a lot of work involved into partnering with big corporates. And I think the payoff is definitely there. But let's also benchmark it towards finding large-scale digital acquisition channels. From my experience, this for B2C kind of company is, from my experience, is the priority. So I'm very happy that we invested first a time in Google, Facebook, making those channels work before spending all of those hours trying to make a corporate partnership work.
That's great advice. And so Mad Paws must be a fairly intensive customer service operation. I mean, you have, as you said, you've had hundreds of thousands of transactions to date. How have you managed to scale your operations?
Yeah, look, I think it's of course pets. So what's very important is that we have procedures in place, but also treat those procedures with a human heart. I think what's of course important is that we have a strong operational team led by a strong operational leader with great experience. And what we found a lot of success in as well is scaling both offshore, in our case in the Philippines, but also in Australia. I believe some tasks are really well done by our amazing team offshore. And I believe for some tasks, it's really good to have someone in this time zone dealing with some of the things. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And that brings me to my next question is about sort of building out your team, both for the support and engineering team offshore. How did you go about building that team and what tips would you give for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So building offshore teams, I think a few things are very important. And I learned a lot from you actually, Mike, as a bit of credit. But I think the first thing is treat the offshore team 100% as part of the onshore team. And so I think our offshore operation benefited greatly from a lot of early interactions of our team going there, spending a lot of face-to-face time with them, and also continuously following up, like once a quarter at least. Our team is over there, and I think it's also important to build a culture there. So it means, they have the T-shirts, they have the same Poet Forward trophy every month. They have a lot of team activities we do here as well, and I think what's also important is we do a lot of showing the progress in Mad Paws here in Sydney. And one of the feedbacks that we got from our offshore teams is we'd also really love to see how the business is tracking in the detailed numbers and so on. So we now always include them into showing how the metrics are evolving. And they find that extremely motivating to understand how their work translates into the business results that we're seeing.
And how hard was it sort of in training those customer service staff in the early days?
Look, I think it's the same as anywhere. It will always depend on who you hire. And I think we benefited greatly from having a very good local team that then could hire a really good first team and strong team lead offshore, who could then hire really strong customer service agents offshore as well. So I think it's the same as it is here. Hire A players and they will continue hiring A players. And then with everything I said before, keep the contact close and the culture very close as well.
Makes sense. And so Mad Paws has won a number of awards and is ranked the 14th best place to work for by LinkedIn. So that's pretty exciting. So how did you go about building such a great culture?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, this is very much because of we have a great team that very much cares about culture, I think. And I think we did a few things well, and also we learned along the way and got better because of that. But I think early on we defined a set of values. And I think it's actually a very good thing to do because you use them in interviews so that you ensure that the right people join the company who think that those values, reliability and so forth, are very important. And also it becomes an easy way to hold team members accountable very quickly but also to reward good behavior. And we did things on those values. We did things such as our paw, dog and cat feed, paw it forward trophy. So every end of the month, we give that trophy to whoever exhibiting the best Mad Paws values. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. And I think we really invest the time to make it a fun place to work. And I think a fun place to work is a good balance between we're here with a bunch of people that really like working with each other and is motivated by working with each other. And yes, we're also, we to a degree also friends and we will do fun activities, but also have the balance with, hey, it's a growth company. Let's really go hard, test stuff, fail, but then optimize, don't fail twice on the same thing and really focus on seeing that graph go steeper and steeper up. And I think the combination of both is very powerful to have, a really great vibe. I want to be here. I want to do better. I want to bring this business to the next level. And there is one more secret weapon that unfortunately not all companies can use, which is about making pet ownership easier and about giving pets a happier life. And this is something that a lot of people really want to be part of.
This podcast is sponsored by Parkhound, Australia's parking marketplace, to find a convenient parking space near your home or office.
Yeah, excellent. And did you have, everyone sort of makes the wrong hires, has the wrong people, did you have anyone sort of join your team that wasn't right and didn't fit inside your culture?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just sometimes people who don't buy into the culture and maybe they would work really well in other organizations, but there are certain things that we will just not tolerate, such as, look, if you say you're going to do something, then do it, okay? And yes, maybe once you forget, no problem. But if it's consistent behavior, this will negatively impact everyone in the team because if one person gets away with it, why would everyone else live up to high standards? So we definitely had that, not so often, but when we did, my learning was take action very quickly and the team will appreciate it.
Yeah, cool.
So Alexis, you're now at a real level of scale. Can you share with us some of the marketing tips and tricks that have helped you scale your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for marketing, it is testing a lot of things, but then really doubling down on what works. We certainly don't have a magic bullet within Mad Paws. It's a combination of a number of things, but we definitely have a combination of channels that just work better than other channels. And Google certainly is one of them because there is just a huge surge demand for pet sitters, dog walkers, and so forth. And I think the tip from that one is, if that's the case, like hire, and it can run profitably, hire someone that or maybe an agency that can optimize it because there's a lot of learning to do. The second learning there is, if your Google search is working well, it means imperatively that you start investing early and very focused in SEO as well, organic search. Because if you're paying for the demand, it means the free demand is there as well. And this long term is what's going to make this a long term, very, very continued growth without all continuously spending business. That's been very good for us. We're also very good at building up an email database, and we do that with content. Hey, Australia's top dog names, Australia's top dog breeds, how to stop your dog from barking, the perfect star sign for your dog. And because of our really awesome content, we built now our database of pet owners that are engaging with the content, like high open rates and so forth, to 500,000 pet owners. And we just keep sending them really interesting and relevant content, meaning not book now, book this, book that, but some of the examples I just gave so that Mad Paws remains top of mind by the time they need it.
How often are you sending out those emails?
Every 5 days. Some people ask me, hey, Alexis, but don't you have huge unsubscribe rates if you send so many emails? Look, there are people unsubscribing, of course, but A, we try to make the content as best as possible so that it's of genuine interest to the subscriber base. And B, by a point, if our potential customers unsubscribe, it also means that they might not be so interested in using my service, right? So we like sending relevant content, interesting content, not too pushy. That's what we're doing. And on the back of that, when you ask about marketing, I think we did a good job in building a really awesome community around the brand. If you type in Facebook Mad Paws or Instagram Mad Paws, you literally see thousands of Facebook pages by fans and pet sitters and so on created about our brand. And I kid you not, I've seen cars driving around in Sydney in our turquoise color with Mad Paws branding collateral that we never produced. So I think what we did well, and this majorly our team of pet lovers, is really build a really cool brand. I think it is.
So building a marketplace isn't cheap, as some of us in this space know. So how much capital have you raised to date? And tell us a bit about that journey.
Yeah, we raised approximately $10 million over the journey of Mad Paws, of which we still have a good chunk, so a good way, really good to further accelerate the business. Yeah, look, capital raising, indeed, marketplaces, they often take time, they often take money. It's, of course, always a function of growth versus, it's a function of growth, how much growth do you want to do, where Mad Paws is now doubling its revenues still year on year, which we're very excited about. And I think investment is a really great way as well to get really awesome advisors and people that have done it before to come on board and help you out.
And what would you say has been key to sort of securing that funding? What's made you successful in raising that $10 million?
I think it is, I think the first thing is you need a good business that is showing good metrics. Yeah? And those metrics always come down to, yes, what does the growth look like? What do the actual revenue and GMV levels look like? But also, what do the underlying unit economics look like? What does it cost to acquire a customer? And what will they be spending over their lifetime? And I think showing great evolution on those metrics and getting those metrics in check is eventually what will sell a good story. Well, what will show that it is a good story to potential investors. But it's not all of it, right? Like you also need to get in front of the right audiences. And then I think that's where I think that having networks and having good investors on board that then can introduce other investors. And if you're early stage, being aware of the angel dinners that are happening around Sydney and so forth, I think that's very important.
Yeah, excellent. And so can you share with us a hairy moment in the early stages of building the business and how you got through that moment?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the early stages, I told you we launched this MVP. It wasn't too great, but we got it into better stages. Because of our Gumtree growth hacking tactics that I explained to you earlier, we had a lot of user signups, heaps. We had a lot of pet sitter signups, heaps. And there were a lot of things going very well. There were 7,000 users that signed up on zero marketing dollars because we were flooding Gumtree with Mad Paws advertisings. And we were in the news constantly. And to a point that I was very proud, and I was telling my family that my dog walking business was working out. And we were in the press. Yeah, well, that's what I just said. We're in the press constantly. So there were a lot of really good things happening. But we got so distracted that we forgot to really focus on what we would later call our Northstar metric, which for Mad Paws at the time was number of bookings. And it really was flat for the first 5.5 months on like 2-3 bookings a day, very little. Yeah, maybe it was a bit more, but it was very little. Now try raising capital on a flat growth curve at those early stages. It's like almost better that you don't have any numbers at all to show. So look, that wasn't easy. And it was also my competitor, who has a very similar name at around the same time, raised quite a substantial round here in Australia, actually. And I always tell this story. Half of my friends asked, "Hey, Alex, are you going to go back to Belgium? Let's go for a beer." That's very sad. And the other half of my friends, because the name is very similar to a degree, said, "Hey, let's go for a beer. Congratulations." But they didn't go for any beers. Instead, started digging very deep into the numbers. And there was no analytics software at the time. We had to dig much deeper. But we saw, yes, we got many users, like a lot. We've got many pet sitters, many pet owners. Yes, we got many booking inquiries, but what we're not having is that Northstar metric bookings. And the reason is what often happens in marketplaces, the liquidity issue. Do you first build supply or first demand? We clearly started with a lot of supply all over Australia because there were so many competitors and we wanted to expand quickly. But the downside to it was by the time those pet sitters got their first booking inquiry, 2 months after signing up, they were already no longer engaged. It's like as if you were to sign up for Uber and your first inquiry to pick up a passenger only happened in 2 months from now. You already found a different way to spend your time, yeah? So So this is what we were finding as well. And how we solved it then is really just picking up the phone, doing what the technology wasn't doing. Hey, this is Alexis from Mad Paws. I'm going to help you find the very best pet sitter. Thank you for your trust. Then call the pet sitter. Hey, it's Alexis from Mad Paws. What's Mad Paws? What's Mad Paws, would they ask? And I would explain, you signed up 3 months ago to look after puppies. It's great. It's fun. Here's what you need to do. Okay, fantastic, Alexis. And I can show you guys the growth graphs, but I'll describe it now to all the listeners. The very moment that we picked up that phone and started calling everyone, our growth went from flat to sky high. And then we couldn't, of course, keep calling everyone anymore. It was just too much. Yeah, it didn't work anymore. So then we started text messaging, and we had this really nice team member that we hired just for sending text messages, first on the phone, then on the computer. And then she couldn't do that anymore. And so we hired 2, and then we couldn't do that anymore. But by this time, we learned so much from first myself chatting to all the customers and all the pet sitters, then sending all those text messages, that we were able to code up many, many different notifications into the technology. And I think the learning from this is the business almost went bankrupt in those early days because our Northstar metric wasn't working. Yeah, we fixed it by doing something very manual, essentially using the technology as a lead generation and just solving all the issues over the phone. Yeah. This was never going to scale. This was very unprofitable on a per booking level as well, but there were not many bookings. But what it did was we learned so much about our pet sitters, about our pet owners, and the way to solve this liquidity issue that we were then able to use those learnings and implement them in the technology for automated notification systems. If we didn't pick up in the early days that phone, and if we didn't do that unscalable method to get to the Northstar metric, would have never been able to code it up into technology and to be where we are now.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think doing those things that don't scale in the early days is just like so important because you just learn so much through that process.
Yep, great.
And looking back, was there anything else that you sort of saw was like a thing that you built that was like really important for sort of further success as you sort of went past that sort of early stages?
Yeah, look, I mean, in a marketplace, that connection is very important. In our case, pet owners and pet sitters. And things that are very important for us is the search ranking algorithm. Which pet sitters do we decide to show first? How do we build out their calendar so that they can very easily indicate to pet owners whether they're available, yes or no? I told you the importance of SEO. I'm a big believer that SEO is very much a technical game as well as many other things, but certainly also a technical game. So that one was very, very crucial for our early scaling. And I think other than that, making the product better for pet owners and pet sitters and having the realization that we're not going to have a perfect product in the first years, but what are really the major pain points? And let's address those, a select few.
Yeah, it makes sense. And you mentioned your North Star is the number of bookings that you receive. How often are you looking at that metric?
Yeah, too much. I shouldn't tell this, but I have this on my phone in real time. But look, the Northstar metric early days was the number of bookings, and now it's still really the Northstar metric. However, we started realizing that it's a lagging metric. There is nothing we can do today to significantly increase that metric. Whatever we do today will increase that metric in a week's time or in a month's time, or even some actions will increase it in 6 months' time, right? And so we started really looking at which are now the leading metrics that will have a ripple-on effect to influence that Northstar metric. And for us, it's very much things like, what is the time for a new pet sitter who comes newly on the website to get their first booking inquiry? Because they know they'll be much more engaged when they get their first booking inquiry. Or what is the time in which we can get one customer to make their second purchase? Let's make that time as short as possible because we know they'll spend much more on the platform. These are now the metrics that I'm obsessed about and the team is obsessed about. And these are the metrics that are driving the future growth. And to your question, how often do we look at it? I do exactly daily, but it's probably a bit too much for what is good. But what is important is we put these metrics or the metrics that we want to focus on in a particular quarter in our OKRs, objective and key results, which are set at company level and then translated into all of the department levels as well as cross-departmental teams. And those are then translated into the individual's tasks levels. And so at any given time, anyone in our team knows exactly what projects they are working on, which metrics they are influencing, and how they're influencing the company metrics that we are focusing on this quarter, which hopefully are, as I said, leading metrics, which will drive growth in the future.
Alexis, what's the best piece of advice that you've been given along your journey to date?
Look, I think many. I think the one that I'll bring up now is hire really, really good people, because you definitely can't do it all yourself. Yeah, maybe you are, at least me, certainly not the smartest in the whole team. So it's really important to surround yourself with people that are very smart in their areas and that work really well together. And I think great companies are built because of great people. And I think investing the time there as the founder, CEO, going through all the interviews, being very close to the team, I think this will help the business a lot.
Great. So what's next for Mad Paws? What does the future look like 5 years down the path?
Look, so today I think we do a good job delivering pet sitting. What do you do when you go on holidays? I think we do a good job of delivering needs for pet owners, for busy pet owners, such as dog walking and daycare. I think we're doing an increasingly better job at locking these services in a subscription type arrangement, which I think is convenient for both pet owner and pet sitter. And from a business point of view, works really well as well. But I think what we're actually building now is something very powerful. You sign up to Mad Paws for a very emotional decision when you go on holidays. Yeah, you trust us with your pet. We then also offer dog walking. So now suddenly we are in your life weekly. Your dog is having weekly walks. We think we're now in a perfect position to start solving other pet owners' needs with other pet solutions. And so there are a number of very interesting things on the roadmap that we think will have huge effects for our future growth and huge positive impact for our pet owners and pet sitters. And hopefully in 6-8 months, maybe there is another opportunity for me to come on this podcast and show you what we've done.
Sounds great. Watch this space.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us today on Founders on Air. We really appreciate your time and being so generous and open with sharing such great information for our listeners. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I enjoyed it a lot as well.
Excellent. And so coming up next week, we'll have Will Davies, CEO and co-founder of Car Next Door. It's bye for now from Founders on Air.
You've been listening to Founders on Air with Steve Orenstein and Mike Rosenbaum, a podcast designed for founders by founders to help you scale your business. For show notes and to ask questions for future episodes, go to foundersonair.com. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time.